it was such an inspiration, and we have more inspiration for you with numerous industries with Captain Joe. Just to give you a brief intro, Captain Joe Clark is a businessman, an entrepreneur, a pioneer, an inventor, and an aviator, of course, most importantly, and a pilot.
First is pilot.
Yes, but save the best for last, right? We have to do that. Captain Joe, please have a seat, and we want to hear all about the revolution you've done to the aviation industry as a whole. If I can ask everyone to please be seated, just so we can start. And prior, I like that picture over there.
Looks like I need a shave.
Similar to, it shows a true aviator, right? Captain Joe, mashallah, you have created a disruption within the aviation industry. I just want to give like a brief intro about Aviation Partners, if you would allow me, and then I want to ask you so many questions about it as well. So, just so you know, everyone, Captain Joe Clark is the founder of Aviation Partners, Inc. Aviation Partners, Inc. is focused on, of course, Captain Joe will talk more about it, but they created a winglet that enhanced performance in all jets. The accomplishments of Aviation Partners, up until today, they've saved more than 10 billion gallons of jet fuel for Learjets. 10 billion gallons.
I'm not sure this is the right venue to say that.
There has to be, but Saudi is a separate item. But this is a huge accomplishment, not only to a company, but to the entire industry. And it's amazing to see the inventor behind it. Can you please tell us the story? And if we can also have the presentation up as well, we really want to hear the story of the founding of Aviation Partners and what led you to discover and to even think about executing this invention within the winglet systems as well?
Okay, I'll be happy to. Is the presentation up?
Yes, if we can have the presentation up. And
well, I wish I could say it was my idea, but it really wasn't. I had a partner named Dennis Washington, and he called me up one day on the phone. And he said, "Could you put winglets on my Gulfstream 2?" And I said, "What do you want to do that for?" And he said, "I want it to look like a new modern airplane." So what I did is I said, okay, I know a lot of fellows in Seattle in the aerospace industry. So what I did was I got these gentlemen together. There's kind of an interesting group here, but just a couple of them. One, Brian Waggle, was part of my kitchen cabinet. Brian was first flight of the 747 and first flight of the 737. There's Dr. Gratzer, and these are different engineers we worked with. So I got this group together, and I said, my partner wants to do this. We want to put G3 winglets on a G2. And we looked around, and we checked it out and everything, and we felt we could do it, but it would be very, very expensive. So I got back to him and said we could do it. It's a lot of money, but one of my engineers, this fellow on the right here next to me, Dr. Gratzer, worked in the wind tunnels at Boeing for 3 or 4 years, and he said, I've got a new winglet design called a blended winglet, and I'd like to test it. So I called my partner and said, I got this great idea. I was all excited. He said, I'm not interested. So I said to him, I said, well, let me show you a picture of it. So I showed him a picture of it. He saw what it looked like, and that was how it all started. We formed a company to do the blended winglets.
That's amazing. Which year did you and Dennis Washington come together to take this invention?
1989.
1989.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is a copy of the blended winglet here. That's a fiberglass prototype.
This was the first one?
Pardon me?
This was the first...
That's the first one, yeah. And so I went back to Gulfstream and met with Alan Paulson, who was the president, and told him what we wanted to do. And he said, well, that'd be like putting hubcaps on a Cadillac. And I said, well, we think we can make it perform better. So what we did is we built prototypes. And the idea was to fly the airplane without winglets, build a prototype, fit the winglet to the airplane, and test it. And this is what we did here.
Is that you in the picture?
Yeah, that's me and a long time ago. And this is a fiberglass winglet we build in a boat shop where they build fiberglass 8-oared shells.
Oh, wow.
And this is one of the fellows who built one of the first prototype gliders out of all composite. He was a B-29 pilot for Boeing.
That's beautiful to see. Who was the first person that took this prototype and actually flew a plane to test it?
Say that.
Who is the first person that took the first prototype and actually put it on a plane to go and test it?
That was us.
That was
with
you.
the blended wing. There were winglets before. Gulfstream had them and Learjet had them, but they were very square shaped and they were old technology. So this is the airplane we flew it on. That's the Learjet on the side there, flown by a guy named Clay Lacey, who's an amazing aviator, a good friend of Prince Sultan's. And we had periscope cameras in that Learjet, and so we flew all the in-flight to watch it. And this is when we first started testing the winglet on the Gulfstream.
After you proved that the winglet actually enhanced the performance of jets,
Yeah.
what was your next step to take it into an actual business operations and to go to Boeing and to actually take it to the next scale?
That came a little bit later on, but initially here, we flew them on the Gulfstream, and we got a 7.3% reduction in drag, which is an increase in range or fuel efficiency, and that was really quite something because nobody believed we could do it. But that's not really why people liked it. They loved the look. And for the business jet, it extended the range because the G2 wouldn't fly coast to coast in America reliably in the winter because of the winds. Now it could with the winglets.
Aside from the huge reduction in the requirement of getting jet fuel, right?
Right. So this is our first winglet on the actual prototype airplane that we flew. We retrofitted approximately 75% of the Gulfstream fleet too. And then we went on, and these are some of the other business jets that have the blended winglet technology, the Falcons.
They look beautiful. They look amazing.
Yeah, they do. The perception is when you put the winglets on the airplane that you get a whole new airplane. But they're very expensive to do, and they cost a lot. It's about $500,000 or more per airplane.
Oh, wow.
So these are some of the Falcon airplanes we've done. These are the different business jets that we've done. We've installed 818 ship sets to date on all the different, just the private jets.
Wow, only the private jets.
Right. Now then Boeing, you asked about Boeing. Yes. Boeing came to me. It's kind of a funny story. This is Borgie Boskop, who's the vice president of Boeing. Boeing and General Electric formed a joint venture. And it was owned half by Boeing and half by GE, and it was the new business jet. So two fellows bought the new business jet, Mohammed Al Maktoum from Dubai and Bob Manoukian, who was from Brunei. And they both wanted business jets, but they didn't want them to look like an airliner. They wanted them to look like a business jet, so they wanted winglets. So Boeing came to me and said, can you put winglets on these? We know they don't work. We just want them for the looks. So I said, well, if we put them on, they'll work. So that's how it started with Boeing.
And it was the legacy Boeing systems, right?
Say again?
It was the legacy Boeing that you first introduced the winglets into,
right? Right. But they didn't think they worked. These are some of this is the same thing. We did prototypes on the 737. When they told me they wouldn't work, I said, here's what I'll do. I'll build a set of prototypes, and we'll fly them on the airplane. I went to my partner, told him what we wanted to do. He said, I think you're crazy. But we did it, and we proved the performance again.
Not just the looks.
Yeah, and Boeing did not like it. The engineers at Boeing, once we proved that they worked to save about 5% on airline fuel, they did not like it at all.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
So this is the flying on the BBJ. That's the prototype on the left. And this is a Saudi airplane here, I think, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Yes. This is the team to put all together on the airliners, the 737-700 and the 800. We did the 300, the 500, the 700, the 800, the 900 of just the narrow bodies. And this is the team that did them.
When you first thought, along with Dennis Washington, of creating Aviation Partners, did you consider it would reach where it is today with all of this success?
No, I mean, this was just a product for the Gulfstream, but once it went on the Gulfstream, we saw how it worked. I knew it would work on the airliners. I was the only one, though. We also did a lot of work with Airbus, but that's a whole other story. So this is the biggest airplane we flew the winglets on. You can see the size of them by the fellows under the wing. This is the 747-200 that we put winglets on. We didn't end up doing a program. This was strictly a flight test prototype program.
It's huge.
Yeah, they're big. They're about 16 feet high. This is some of our advanced technology we're looking at. This is called a spiroid, and it's a circular device on the wingtip, and the reason it works so well, it's 11% drag reduction as opposed to a normal winglet 5 to 7, but there's no tip. So if there's no tip, you eliminate the concentrated tip vortex. It's a little complicated, but it looked a little strange, so we haven't really put it into commercial service yet, but it is kind of the future we're looking at.
It does look like the future, just looking at it, along with those ones. When did you expand, or when did you innovate into these ones as opposed to the previous winglets that
It's
we
the
just
same
saw?
process. It's just an iteration further along. These ones on the Falcon we put are aluminum. The other ones were fiberglass.
It looks very modern, and it looks like the future.
Okay, these are the different airplanes that we've flown winglets on from the inception in 1990 up through, that's 2000, well, it's 2020 now. But these are all the different airplanes.
The split winglet.
This is our newest product that we have. We're on about 1,700 airplanes. It's called a split scimitar winglet. And it's very effective, and it gives another 2.5% more fuel savings on the airplanes.
How about the drag?
Well, less drag, so better fuel savings. And this is another picture of the split scimitar winglet.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah,
How many planes implemented the split winglets so far? How many planes implemented the new split winglets so far?
1,700 so far.
1,700, wow.
Yeah, we'll do about another 2,000 or 3,000, I think.
You say that so casually, Captain Joe.
This is another picture of the split scimitar. It's quite an elegant shape. And we found through our advanced computational fluid dynamics that by shaping the tips like this, the scimitar tips, the little things make a big difference in these drag reduction.
Aside from the amazing look.
Yeah. That's a private jet here. That's a business jet. Okay, so to date we've saved the industry 10 billion. I think as of today on our website we have a continually monitoring meter. 10.3 billion gallons of fuel we've saved the industry. And if you take the number of cars in Seattle, there's about 50,000 cars in Seattle. They cruise about 8,000 miles a year each. So if that would take all those cars, 450,000 cars, and run them for 34 years.
Oh, wow. If you just put it into perspective like that, it's incredible.
Another perspective is Alaska Airlines has about 250 airplanes. It would fly their whole fleet for about 14 years.
Oh, wow. 10.4 billion gallons.
And these are all the we're on 137 airlines, just with the technology and the Boeings. Airbus is probably about the same. So far, we've installed 9,394 on the commercial airliners and another 800 on the private, so we're over 10,000 now.
That's an amazing, amazing accomplishment.
These are some of the airlines that have our winglets on them. Nicky Loud of Austrian was an early customer. He was a great guy. He's a friend of Sultan's as well. And we figure that one of the saying we have in our company, the most reliable way to predict the future is to invent it.
And you've proven that.
Yes.
You have invented the future through aviation.
Right. Now we've got to show you some fun things. We've got a couple of videos here, some flight test videos.
I do want to ask you while they upload the videos, where do you see the future of the aviation industry, considering that you were an inventor in it and you've been in it and a pioneer in it since?
Well, I don't really consider myself an inventor. I kind of carried the water buckets for some pretty smart guys. But I think aviation, we're all surprised, Sultan and I were talking about it, that we're going so slow. We're not going any faster now than we were in 1969.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because somebody has to develop the hypersonic and supersonic technology so we can go fast. The Concorde was about a Mach 2 airplane, but we should be doing Mach 5, 6, 7. But it's all about the materials because the airplanes will melt if you go too fast.
Yes, yes.
The only thing that keeps the airliners from going faster now is the aluminum will melt.
That's very true.
So if somebody can come up with the right technology, we're on.
How about aviation partners? Where is the future for aviation partners, and what other innovations are you currently working on that you can disclose to us?
Well, we need some more young guys. You know, I'm getting up there, so we need some of the young blood in there. But I think there's always going to be tremendous aviation technology coming up for all the new young aviators and young engineers, the STEM systems in the United States now. They all want to do new things. The latest buzz is electric, but I don't see it yet. But I think everybody else does. So maybe I'm behind the times.
You're the pioneer, so we are behind whatever you say. If we can please upload the video, and up until then, I have another question for you, Captain Joe. What's your favorite plane to fly and why?
My what?
What's your favorite airplane to fly?
The one I'm flying. Anyone. I don't care whether it's a Super Cub or a jet.
Spoken like a true aviator.
So this is a Falcon 2000, our test airplane, and what our mission from Dassault was, they said, if you can get 5% at 0.8 Mach, we'll put the winglets on in production airplanes. We achieved that, and this is the first flight test airplane. These are fiberglass winglets that we build in the same boat shop.
Wow. It looks beautiful.
And the photography here is done by a good friend, Clay Lacey, who I mentioned earlier, with his special equipped Learjet that films these. This is the Falcon flying with the spiroid winglets. They're really quite unusual.
It's gorgeous. And it's so modern. I mean, it captivates attention, even for non-aviators. Just looking at it, you know something is different.
This is right over by Reno, Nevada, we're flying here. By the way, none of these shots are zoomed. The Learjet's that close when it's flying. Next to the Falcon here.
It's amazing. How do you feel looking at this winglet, knowing that you had a huge role in creating it?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
How does it feel, Captain?
Well, it's nice to see them on all the airplanes. I go to commercial airports now, and I'm shocked because so many airplanes have winglets on them.
So you can say that you fly 24/7, basically.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It looks so beautiful.
It's different. And I think the last one we have here is maybe the 50. No, this is our prototype winglet on the Boeing business jet. And by the way, when we did this, we didn't tell Boeing we were doing it because it's my partner's airplane, and they just went ballistic. They could not believe we did this without telling them.
Oh, wow. What did they do afterwards?
Pardon me?
What did they do afterwards?
They've threatened to sue me, and they were my partner. Now, these big companies don't like small companies doing things.
They should have been proud.
Yeah, but it works well, and it's been
and it's beautiful.
It's been very effective. We install about 50 or 75 of these every month now. And this is the long-range BBJ here that are on.
It looks absolutely beautiful.
I love watching the airplanes just fly in the air like this up close. It's a very unusual view that many people don't get to see.
It is. And especially once you know that you were the creator of this.
There's another one. This is the Falcon 50 we did with the winglets on and behind the Boeing here over the Sierras. It's an elegant airplane.
So close to the mountains as well.
We haven't really done many of these because the Falcon 50 is kind of being phased out, but it's still a wonderful airplane. And some of these airplanes are so cheap now, it's just incredible that you can buy them for the prices you can. This is a prototype as well, you can see.
It's inspirational to watch.
And watching airplanes in flight is a wonderful experience.
Captain Joe, how many hours do you have flying?
I don't really have a lot of hours. I have probably just under 10,000.
That's not a lot of hours?
No, not compared to some of these guys. My mentor in flying, you can see, by the way, the scimitar tips on this airplane. That's a Hawker. My mentor, Clay Lacey, who taught me how to fly the Learjet, has 55,000 hours.
Oh, wow. MashaAllah.
And there's 8,700 hours in a year.
Oh, wow.
Give you an idea.
That's incredible.
So this is some photographs of where we go to have fun flying. Sultan and I have flown here. This is my ranch in Idaho. Let me see. I think we got some slides here mixed up or something. Okay, we're back now, yeah. So this is the runway in Idaho where we fly.
This is in your ranch, right?
I guess I can move these pictures myself. There we go. And this is the area in Idaho where we do a lot of flying. Now there's a video here. You got the sound?
Can we have the volume?
You got to have the volume.
Can you repeat it? Because the volume is something else. It's as if everyone here just drank coffee with the volume.
Okay. How do I make this one?
They're going to repeat it again. There we go.
There we go. This is a Learjet 24 business jet. Flies very nicely. I don't know, Sultan and I might be in that airplane.
Oh, wow. Were you flying that?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And your ranch is gorgeous as well.
That's the airplane there. And this is a picture taken, the sun is directly over the airplane, so it looks like a fighter plane, but it's actually an early business jet with the big round windows in it. It was built in 1965.
Oh, wow.
This is another airplane we fly at Idaho. That's a Cy Marchetti S211, built by the Italians for the trainer competition. It's operated by the Singapore Air Force. Wonderful airplane. Very easy to fly.
It looks beautiful.
There's a Learjet, same as Sultan's house, is a Learjet 24F, serial number 323, very late model. This is another airplane we fly in Idaho. It's a bush plane. It's a Pilatus PC-6 tail dragger. Got to use your feet a lot. This is a Tiger Cat, my Tiger Cat. This may be Rod Lewis's. Is that your Bearcat in the back? Yeah. Two beautiful airplanes, Navy airplanes. They were both aircraft carrier fighters.
It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, they're really wonderful. Now, here's a fascinating airplane. This is the Mars. And Prince Sultan flew this airplane. I have a picture of him flying it here. This airplane is larger than a 747.
It looks huge.
Here's another picture flying in Idaho in the Learjet.
I think you're making everyone here want to go to Idaho.
Oh, yeah, Idaho's great. You're all welcome to come. This is another training airplane we fly up to turbine-powered PT-6 Pilatus PC-7. Wonderful airplane to fly.
This is how you fly, Captain Joe, right? Reversed.
So you can hang from the straps like
yes,
Sultan's
just like
first flight.
as if you were in a space shuttle, right?
Yeah. This is another train. This is a fabulous airplane. This is a Tucano, and it's a French Air Force airplane. And these are built by the Brazilians. They really build good airplanes. This is another picture of the Tiger Cat out over the water. That's Lake Pyramid Lake or Lake Mead, one of those. That's an in-flight of the, similar to the videos. Picture of Sultan flying the Learjet in and out of Idaho.
Looking good, Prince Sultan.
He's always smiling when he's in an airplane.
Of course he is. He's an aviator.
I don't know what he's doing here. He's wigging his wings. These are some vertical shots of the Lear just up doing some training aerobatics. And I think, wait a minute, oh yeah. This is the airplane. I want to bring the guys up in a second. This is the Gulfstream that we set the record from Fort Lauderdale. Wasn't quite as fast as the space shuttle, but we went from Fort Lauderdale to Riyadh nonstop, 13 hours and 46 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And thank you to the controllers, by the way, here who were so nice to us to let us shoot straight in when we didn't have a lot of fuel left, but we had plenty.
Oh, wow. They broke a world record just this week, right?
Yes.
13.46 minutes, 13 hours and 46 minutes from
Right.
Florida up until Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Right.
With 4 pilots. Can we have them come up here and stay?
Yeah, well, let's a couple more pictures and
Yeah.
we'll bring them up. This is a TA-4 Navy airplane. We have them fly in for the military every year. We bring a bunch of Navy fighters in. This is where we keep the hangars in them. This is a very remote part of Idaho, so we can do a lot of training flying, and it's really fun.
That's a gorgeous hangar.
This is my Learjet there. This is a new airplane we've been flying there. It's called a Game Bird. It's going to be, Chilean Air Force just used, this is a training for advanced fighters.
Aerobatic airplane, right?
Yes. Here's an unusual airplane. We set a record in this, 531.29 miles an hour, which is the fastest propeller-driven piston engine airplane in the world. Now, what's interesting is we went to set the record, but you have to beat it by 3%, and that's held by Rod's airplane. So he officially still holds the record, even though this went faster, because we didn't go fast enough. But he owns the Rare Bear, which is the Reno winner, and this is also a Reno winner. But we redid the aerodynamics with our company on this to change the shock waves. And he's doing about 556 miles an hour in that straight pass.
We truly have pioneers in this room.
Yeah. And then, oh yeah, this is good. There's, to give you an idea
Such a
how big
beautiful
this
section.
airplane is, there's Sultan in the front. Look at us standing on the horizontal stabilizer.
It's huge.
Yes, it's big.
It's
That's at
huge.
Oshkosh.
Look at that there.
And the fellow standing on to my right on the wing, on the horizontal stabilizer, is Wayne Colson, who's the guy who's building the 737s with the fire dropping down in water bombers in Australia.
It's a
That's
huge
Sultan
airplane.
and I. It's huge. But here's Sultan flying. This is takeoff. It takes about 15,000 feet when it's full of water to take off.
15,000 feet. You look so relaxed, Prince Sultan.
It takes forever to get off, but it gets.
It's beautiful.
This is This is where we first met. This is at the eBay show in Geneva. Prince Sultan is an avid. He's always going around and looking at the new airplanes and telling people about Saudi Arabia, and that's his son, Salman. This is when we first landed in Saudi Arabia about 5 years ago here, our greeting committee.
This was your first trip to Saudi Arabia,
Yes.
right? And this is your second trip, the one you're with us in.
Well, actually, my first trip was to see, I came on a winglet trip to see Prince Al-Walid about 15 years ago. He wanted to put him on his 767, which we subsequently did the whole fleet of 767s. And I think this is about, these are just some ending pictures here at the end. Sultan and myself. That's his Gulfstream 5, he flew in there.
This is again in Idaho?
Pardon?
This picture is
At
in your
my
ranch
ranch.
as well?
Yes, in Idaho. There's Clay Lacey. He's and I at my standing in my tower. Clay is really an amazing aviator. He's done. He's in the the National Aviation Hall of Fame. One of the most respected pilots, and I was fortunate enough to have him train me at a very young age. He was a mentor. I went for a ride in a Learjet in 1965 at the Reno Air Races, and ever since then, it ignited my passion. I've been in aviation.
Oh, wow.
All because of this guy.
He was a huge role in
Good
your
friend
life.
of Sultan's. Here's Long and Sultan and the Kodiak, which is, I think, right around here someplace. And this is Wayne Colson and his family, and Clay Lacey and Sultan and I in Oshkosh. And here's my girlfriend.
She's Saudi, huh?
Yeah. And this is a couple of shots at the end. This is a low pass at the launch. And there's one last video here that's kind of it's an unusual one. Flip to the next.
There we go.
So I'm the white dot. This is a smoke system. We use this airplane for air shows too. Learjet built an amazing airplane. Amazing airplane. And this is the end. This is when, after all the guests have left the air show, the airplanes are sitting around watching a movie. Thank you very much, and thank you for Sultan for inviting me. This has been very special. I wonder if we can have the other fellows that flew on the record trip come up for a minute.
Yes.
See if anybody has.
It was 4
questions?
pilots in the plane, right?
4, yes.
4 pilots in the plane from Florida up until over here in Riyadh. 13 hours and 46 minutes, correct? You guys are amazing.
First one is Mark Rands here. He's the chief pilot on the G5. David Bauer, he's a 767 captain flying with us. And Travis Holland, who did the flight planning. We all flew to different legs in the flight, and it was great. It was, you might want to say for a minute a little bit about the flight planning, Travis, because I think that was real key.
Yeah, one of the big challenges of this flight is the first part of the segment is over the open ocean, and normally it's not possible to climb or change altitudes over the ocean. But there was no way we were going to be able to make the flight work unless we could continue to gain altitude over the Atlantic as we crossed. So we were very fortunate we got to block altitudes, and we actually, Joe and I flew most of the night together. We climbed 100 feet at a time about every 10 or 15 minutes as the plane's performance allowed to get the maximum endurance. So that was one of the special things.
Great. You want to say anything, Mark?
Well, originally the trip was to go out of Seattle, and at that time there just wasn't going to be enough range. But as Joe's schedules changed, as we know, we ended up in Florida. So all of a sudden we're thinking about this, well, we might be able to make it. And so I got up with Travis, and we kind of ran the numbers. We even had another group kind of check them out. And again, we just kind of got in, and we kind of had a backup plan. If necessary, we could drop into Egypt. But as we continued, we kind of slowly gained a little bit more fuel and a little bit more fuel. And we just kept going. And we landed with just about 3,000 pounds, which at that time was about an hour's worth of fuel left. So still had about an hour to go.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Dave, you want to say something?
Just,
Dave's new to the Gulfstream. He's a 767 big boy, but
yeah. So it was a good trip. The thing about the Gulfstream that I'm learning is that we flew slow, which is unusual. We did long range cruise instead of 8.3 or 8.5, which is a big factor in getting that kind of distance and time.
What was your altitude?
I think we ended at 49. Yeah, flight level 490. Yeah.
we started at 41, flew up to 49,000.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions about the trip over it all? Well, highest altitude was 49,000.
If we can, anyone has any questions prior to taking out? I mean, Joe Clark, along with all of the pilots, they broke a world record just this week.
Did you get any sleep on the plane?
I think we each took naps, 3 or 4 hours.
Not much food, right?
No, we didn't eat. We ate very light.
Okay.
We were serious.
Um,
We knew we were coming to your air show, and if we didn't do it right, we were going to be embarrassed.
Well done. Well
Yeah.
done.
And I'd like to thank you, Prince Sultan, for the opportunity to come here, and again, Joe, to go on the trip. So thank you guys very much.
My mission in life is to go to Florida in a G550 and beat your record.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably will.
Put Joe in his place.
Yeah, but thank you again
Well
for
done.
inviting us. It's a real treat, and to be really at the beginning of your Oshkosh type event here. It's an honor for
Yes,
us, and
sir.
thank you so much.
We are honored to have you here. Thank you so much. Today has been incredible, so inspirational, and absolutely overwhelming from the amount of inspiration we got. We have tomorrow and we have after tomorrow, and we have amazing personalities such as Captain Joe Clark and amazing pioneers in the aviation industry. I hope you can make it with us tomorrow and after. And today, please stick around. There is a light lunch, and we also have an incredible air show. Captain Joe, captains, we are so happy to have you in Saudi, and we're so happy to have you on stage as well. Thank you again. If I can kindly ask all aviators and all pilots to come to the stage for a group picture with Prince Sultan. I'm sorry, we don't have an actual plane on stage, but you guys being here will be enough. I'm sorry? That's very true. All pilots and aviators, please come to the stage. It looks. Go ahead. Hello, how are you? You're Paul, right?
I'm Klaus.
You're Klaus, yes. Go ahead, please. John and Martha, please. Come here. Sorry. It's going to be a packed stage, so we can just do 2 rows if you want. We can do 1 row over here and 1 row behind it. So anyone that's tall, please stand in the 2nd row. You want to come over here?